Hello again folks, Sinow here, your new home for everything Resident Evil Resistance, and today I am super excited to bring you another Mastermind build. This time I'm bringing you a very different build. Before I made a video about Buffet, which is a deck that uses a net to buff up lots of creatures and then do tons of damage. Today I'm bringing you a build that specializes in using instant explosion traps to completely make the survivors' lives miserable. Very different playstyle, but this is super fun, quite an aggressive deck. Like the Buffet one, there's a lot of you really hammering away at the survivors and making their lives difficult. Like my previous build video, I'll discuss the deck and all the choices I made in terms of skills and some of the combos and things you should look out for in using them. Then there will be some footage of the build in action before finally discussing some pros and cons of the build and wrapping it up there. And I hope you enjoy the video. So let's take a look at how we make this this build, which I'm calling the Residents of Evil, after the passive that allows you to make this build a reality. So first of all, we utilize Alex Wesker for this deck, and one of the nice things about it is that you only, for the most part, you only really need to level her up in order to be able to use this. I can't quite remember what rank you get all of the different things that you need to make this deck a reality, but regardless, you can find that information on the internet, and like I said, you only need to level up Alex, so that's quite a nice change from other decks where you need to level up different masterminds. For the bioweapon Yativeo, this passive is not very important. You could use both of them, to be honest with you. I personally am using Explosive because you can get quite a lot of damage from using the self-destructive Yativeo correctly. And you can use self-destruct without having to get a Devourer down, which is the instant kill move that takes quite a long time to use. It also increases self-destruct damage, and it's just more thematically appropriate. So I'm using Explosive for the deck. For the Biohazard passive, this is another one where it's I'm not really using Epidemic because I'm not summoning creatures, so I'm using Amplify. This greatly increases your infection rate, but it's not a very important passive, to be honest with you. You might get a little infection with one or two creatures you spawn at the beginning if you have a preset, for instance, but this isn't very important. Now, Residents of Evil, which the whole deck is named after here, this passive is tantamount to be able to use instant explosion mines. You need to use the passive Mechanic here. This increases trap durability and the time required to disarm them, but it also, very importantly, reduces the time required to trigger a mine. This is a huge change in how much time is required to make your mines explode. And this, combined with some equipment, is the reason why the activation time goes effectively to 0. It's really impressive to see this in action. I can't wait to show you guys. But yes, make sure you have Mechanic equipped for Residents of Evil so that you can blow up your mines instantly. For Area 2, I am using Landmine ×3 card. This is extremely important as well for the build. It makes your Area 2 in particular very strong. And you use a trap mod in this deck, which makes the cost of this go down to 2. And you can also, I'll discuss this in a second, use a clone. So sometimes you can get 6 mines out in a row for only 4 energy, which is crazy. The reason why Landmine ×3 is such a good card is because if one landmine explodes on a survivor and they're standing in range, the other landmines will explode, and then they all deal damage and they all take off time from the survivor affected. So if one landmine is stepped on and explodes, it does a bit of damage and it takes off 5 seconds. But if one landmine explodes and chains to 2 other ones and they all hit a survivor, they lose 15 seconds and they take all the damage from the 3 landmines. And that is very hard to play against because it takes off so much time and it makes you lose so much health. And in particular, Martin, who is very good at disabling traps and can be something of a counter to this deck, if he decides to sit down and disable one of these traps, you can instantly blow up one of the other traps and they'll all blow up in his face, and it interrupts his animation for it. And that's why this deck is so effective, in particular against characters like Martin, because he can't just stand on top of mines and constantly disable them for time as he usually would, because if he does, you just blow something up on him and he gets punished for it. So this is an amazing card, probably one of the most useful in the deck. Again, for Area 3, I'm going for Jester Camouflaged. You don't want this horrible, horrible, horrible card to have in a deck that's all about using traps that don't have virus attached to them. So unfortunately, I would say you can't really use this build effectively until I believe it's like rank 19 when it comes to Area 3, where you get Jester Camouflaged. And this isn't really a good card for the deck anyway, but Alex is kind of weirdly confined in a lot of her choices. I would say that if you have enough bioenergy and the Jester gets off a scream, you might be able to put down a trap or two under the survivors and then blow them up. So that's quite nice. Moving on to the equipment. So, you need the passive mechanic for Residents of Evil, and you need Electric Cable 2 and Electric Cable 3 in order to make your mines instantly explode. This is required for the build to work properly. They don't cost too much equipment points, which is really nice, and you have a lot more to play with afterwards. So in addition to these, excuse me, we have Military Grade Explosives 2. This moderately increases the damage dealt by traps. And then we have Miniature Reactor, which moderately increases your bioenergy recharge speed. I find that a lot of trap damage is more about how many traps are under the survivors and how you utilize them, rather than this equipment ability. So I'm not using greatly increases damage dealt to traps, because I find that overall excuse me, your bioenergy curve is a little bit more healthy if you're using the Miniature Reactor, and the amount of extra damage you get from Military Grade Explosives 2 is sufficient. I don't really think you need to use tier 3 of this to be able to just do enough damage and harass survivors to death, quite frankly. And this helps keep you running nice and gives you like a kind of nice zesty deck that doesn't feel like there's too much dead air. Moving on to the deck itself. So I'll cover the cards. First of all, I'll go for the trap cards. We have the Tracker Mine. The Tracker Mine makes it so that survivors take more damage, and you can also see them through doors, so you know if a survivor is barging into a door, for instance, that they might be about to barrel into a room. This is really important because apart from Tyrone, who has a different way of opening doors, one of your best strengths in this deck is that if a survivor opens a locked door, they do the shoulder barge and they kind of stumble into the room, and the radius of a trap's explosion is large enough that even though you can't put traps down right beside the door, you can still blow up like a cluster of traps and they'll all go off in a survivor's face, and they can't really prevent that from happening. And Tracker Mine allows you to see if somebody's on the other side of a door quite easily, even if you have like a camera disabled, and remember, it makes them take more damage. There's another reason for Tracker Mine being in the deck that I'll discuss in a second. Landmine here costs 2, kind of bread and butter. You want to put this under survivors, fair enough. Bear in mind that if a survivor is trying to like do something like pick up a down survivor, you can put this landmine down underneath them or like a little behind them and blow up to interrupt. Same with the Tracker Mine. So this is quite effective in and of itself. And high explosive landmine does tons of damage, causes survivors to barrel across the floor. This is really nice, especially if you combo it with like landmine times 3 or even landmine times 1. The damage stacks up very nicely with these. Moving on to the guns in the deck. So we're not using creatures, and one of the reasons why guns are so effective without creatures is that it shaves off so much time from the survivors with all your traps and guns that they can't really get back, because there isn't anything to kill to rack up the seconds too much apart from cameras. Turret rifle. I tend to use this on a camera that's like in an open area that's maybe facing a room where I put traps in. I find this has a nice psychological effect where it makes survivors want to rush a little bit more, so they're more likely to like barrel into a room where there's traps. And this is a nice like pressure mechanic. It does cost 4, so be wary of that. It's quite expensive, but it also takes off 5 seconds per shot, which is very, very nice. Rifle, it only costs 2. This is more of like a situational card where, like, if you want something to maybe put some damage down on survivors that isn't too expensive while you're waiting for like a bigger trap play later on, you can use the rifle. The rifle also combos quite nicely. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cough. With immobilizing rounds. So this is a very strong card that you unlock on Alex as well. That allows you to shoot like a sticky webbing that has an AoE effect, which is kind of identical in the way it works to the Yataveo slime shot, where the survivors have to stand still and mash F for quite a long time to break free. This is very nice because if you have enough bioenergy, you can use an immobilizing round on people and they stay still for so long that you can put traps underneath them and then blow them up, or you can shoot them with your guns. So this is a very annoying card for survivors to deal with. I hate it. We also have machine gun. If you have an immobilizing round down on someone, you can use the machine gun to shave off the seconds and maybe get a down. Machine gun also is very good at shooting through doors if you want to pressure the survivors and they're just kind of standing back and shooting at your traps as well. So bear that in mind. And finally, moving on to kind of cards that are to do with our deck's economy, so to speak. I really like discount. Some people have different strategies for this, but I find that discount is a very effective way to kind of shuffle through the cards in your deck to get what you want, but also still get a nice effect from the cards that you're kind of trashing, almost, so to speak. Because you can use discount and it makes like the next trap, for instance, that you draw cost 1 less, or the next gun you draw cost 1 less. So it's quite an effective way, along with Tracker Mine, to like keep cycling through cards in a situation where you need to draw something and you haven't got it in your hand just yet. We also have Clone here. So Clone is a very nice card for this deck. It copies the last card that you used, but has an increased cost by 1. You really want to use this, perhaps for like doubling up on high explosive landmines is quite nice, but in particular, Clone really shines when you use it with the triple mine card, because you can make 6 landmines pop down in front of the survivors for very cheap. And that is extremely hard to play against, because that amount of landmines that all blow up at the same time will down you if you are like not Tyrone. So that's really hard to play against. And Clone, the kind of Clone combo for the triple landmine is brilliant. It's like a real kind of, that's like a lot of what this deck is based around. So make sure that you use this combo to your full advantage. And finally, we have Efficiency Mod Traps. So this lowers the cost of all trap cards by 1 when you have it in the hand. You might notice from my previous Buffet build that I really like having efficiency mods. I find that they're very useful if you have a deck that has like a singular purpose, such as this one. You do have to give up a card slot in your hand, which is why it's so important to have Discount and Tracker Mine in case you get stuck with 3 cards that aren't appropriate for like the moment that you need them. But this is like so useful. It makes Landmine cost 1, it makes High Explosive only cost 3, and it makes Triple Landmine only cost 2. So then you're allowed to also use Clone as well, and you can see how it kind of builds up to the point, especially in Area 2, where you're putting down like tons of traps for like really cheap. So very nice build. Like I said earlier, no creatures to feed the survivors time, which is nice. We'll move on to the footage of me using the build in action to get 2 quite early wins. Showing off some of the strengths of the deck. Do bear in mind that in Area 1 sometimes you'll find that your hands are quite gun heavy. If this is the case, then you'll find in Area 2 with the triple landmine card that it starts to kind of go towards more the traps favor, but you will find sometimes in Area 1 that you're having to use guns a lot. But guns are very easy to use. It's hard to be punished for using them incorrectly, and they do shave off time from the survivors anyway, so don't panic too much if Area 1 feels like it's more gun than traps, because that will change when you get to Area 2. Anyway, let's move on to the footage of using the deck in action. Okay, here we go, Research Facility. I'm currently using a really weird preset that was actually set up for an infection-based creature deck. It does have detonators beside the spawn and some good key item placement, so I'm going to just go with it for the time being. I might be able to, I think there might be 1 or 2 poison zombies as well for infection. It's kind of a shame that this passive And this skill doesn't really do much for me with this current build. Okay, so we have a really high rank January and a pretty high rank Tyrone as well. So this is going to be like a good test, shall we say?
Not 2, not 4, but 3. It will always be 3.
Go for the detonator cheese. Survivors hate this one trick. Oh, he knew. 300, not bad, huh? Set it up again. I think this Tyrone is quite smart. He knows his stuff. Ah, that was a bit lame, but okay, I'll take it. I'll put a rifle turret here because my hand is a little bit clogged up with guns at the moment. You'll find that you have a lot of situations where you're like very gun heavy in area 1, and then it kind of changes later on. It's quite hard to just avoid that, in my opinion. Here we go. I'm gonna wait for him to stop being grabbed and then go for immobilizing. Nice. Just go for the rifle. Oh. Sinow, you need to learn how to aim. The tracker will make it so that he's taking a bit more damage. Wow, they bounced really nicely there. They were very good at button mashing, those two.
Wonderful.
She's down though.
A key to open the path.
Let's just discount and then see if I can put some traps around her. Yeah, you're in trouble now, huh? Look at her. I love this build when you do that. And there goes boosted Fang Mean.
Disappointing test yet.
Blow this up so she gets interrupted. Remember, tracker might still interrupt like that.
It took you that long to find. I made that one easy for you.
Immobilizing quickly. Nice. Also, a cheap rifle. She's about to go down, maybe. Oh, it's kind of a shame. I wanted to get to Area 2 where you start to be like really using landmines, but well. Put down that high explosive and then blow this one up. So you see, you might not be able to see that there because it was so quick, but if you have a landmine down and you put a high explosive mine down next to it, if you blow up the initial landmine, it will blow up the high explosive landmine as well, even if the high explosive landmine is in like the spawning phase where you can't really like, you know, blow up yourself. So you can kind of do like a chain combo in order to get like a quick access high explosive mine like that, and it's very effective in certain situations. Wow, that was a quick game. I think I might have to record another one so that I have a bit more footage of this build in action. Okay, example game number 2 of this build. Please let it last a little bit longer this time. Again, weird preset setup for an infection-based creature deck, but the key item placement's good. And you know what, a little challenge isn't gonna hurt. I guess the infected zombies might be able to use a little bit of infection on the survivors if they manage to hit them with Amplify, whatever. No big deal. It's a shame, but I really wish that Virus Mine and Landmine ×3 did not share a slot. If anything, I kind of wish Virus Mine was like just a normal card that you unlock by playing Alex, as opposed to one of her like Area 2 special cards. Maybe it would be too strong though, I don't know. Right now Infection is quite strong. Wow, a rank 41 Valerie and 44 Samuel. And a decently ranked January as well. This should be a good test of the build to see if it's like up to much. I'm going to use a turret rifle here because it's a fairly like low cost way to get a little bit of extra time taken off them. This Samuel might be a nightmare though because he moves so quickly that it might like lose bullets because it's trying to track him and he's just too fast. Samuel is very hard to play against, I find, actually, because of that reason. He might be so fast though, he makes a mistake. I'm gonna open the door on him. Surprise. Oh, he killed it! I still got the explosion though, but damn, I really didn't expect that. I need to control this zombie. No, I don't actually. Immobilizing around, that's what I need to do. There we go, perfect. Although, January's in the doorway. High explosive. High explosive. High explosive maybe. Quickly. Quickly, come on now. Nice, nice. Remember that for this build, Tyrone does not take as much trap damage with one of his passives, and that passive is like huge reduction. It's ridiculous how well it works against traps. Wow, my aim needs a bit of work, huh? I blew up that tracker mine myself because I wanted her to get stunned and also take a bit more damage. Okay. They're gonna zoom over to this side now. See if I can set up. Yes! Okay, set up the trap plane here. Hopefully this is somebody who isn't Tyrone because they will tend to go into the room.
Interesting.
Boom! There we go, that's a down.
I have a theory. Now do that.
Machine gun. Getting hacked, unfortunately, but I got some nice damage there. I think I won't be able to set up much on this camera. They're too close, so I'm going to wait. They have to come get this key item, and they're running out of time already. Actually, maybe a turret rifle might be a good idea here. And then I'll surprise them by leaving the room.
If you do not hurry, I will be forced to conclude the test.
Yeah, she's too busy trying to take out the turret here, so she's not paying attention. Alright, go for the grab. I have to harass Samuel.
I'm surprised it took you that long to find. I made that one easy for you.
Oh, I can't believe it missed because he was in the door animation. I hate that. Oh, I really hate that. So if they're in the middle of doing like a door bar, the first door barge animation, it like won't make like bullets hit them correctly. Oh, there we go.
You will never escape like this.
Too busy coughing. See if I can lock this door. Nah. Okay, they're gonna make it to the next area, which means I get to show you a little bit of Area 2's triple landmine usage, which is where this build really shines. I just keep winning too hard, though. They're all infected as well.
I had no expectation of you surviving even
I'll put down this.
Your fortune
and
will not last.
Hold down the place button and you can rotate the mines. That's very important.
The soaring ecstasy.
Oh, Tyrone actually got hit out of the room. There we go. Oh, lads.
Run and hide.
Getting sloppy out here. Getting very sloppy.
Yes, this data is intriguing.
2 down. I'll use a discount and just like spam them. Oh, I should put it up though. Blow up this landmine if I can. There we go. Interrupt. Hopefully that tracker mine goes off as well. Okay, 15 seconds. Good job. They're fighting well here. Discount for 1 cost triple landmine, which is ridiculous. I think you'll agree. Into the clone, 6 landmines. Although I accidentally lost one there. Don't worry about it. Crazy amount. Alright, boom! They lost 20 seconds from landmines alone, and I'll put this plant here. It's over. It's over.
That's not surprising.
And I was against some good survivors. Okay, so let's discuss the pros and cons of the Residents of Evil build. First of all, it's really fun. That's a good pro. Being able to blow up survivors and immediately down them is kind of crazy. It feels really, really strong when you use it effectively, and it also feels very evil. Hence the name Residents of Evil, I guess. It's a super fun deck to play. You could also bypass some of the warm-up period for a mine by using an already summoned mine to kind of combo into it. So I think I explained this in the footage earlier. But for instance, if you have a landmine down and then you summon a high-powered landmine beside it, you can blow up the landmine that you already have, and it will bypass the warm-up period of the high-explosive one, and they both go off in the survivor's face, doing all of the damage. So you can really blow up mines very quickly with this. Very fun. Second pro is that this is a hard deck to play against. You're not feeding the survivors very much time with creatures, you're shaving off seconds with constant traps and guns, and it's hard not to just accidentally run out of time. Plus, you get stunned a lot from mines blowing up in your face. The characters do a lot of kind of stunned animations for small landmines and the high-powered ones as well. And you can stun lock survivors out of doing objectives by using, for instance, even like a tracker mine. If you just put it behind them while they're trying to do a security keycard and then wait a second and blow up immediately, it can stun them out of the animation for doing an objective, and that's just very frustrating to play against, and it makes it quite an oppressive deck in general for the survivors to deal with. Another pro is that you only really need Alex to be leveled up to use this deck. I do know that Daniel gets a lockdown trap, I think at rank 25. The lockdown trap makes it so if a survivor steps in it, it locks all of the doors in the area. I think just like level 1 lock or something. It might be good for this deck, but the one thing I've heard about the lockdown trap is that you can't actually blow it up using EIS. You can't like deliberately blow it up when you decide to, well, when you decide you want to use it. So it actually might not work in this build. I'm not sure if you can combo it with other landmines. Maybe it does work, I'm not sure, but if you get the chance to try that yourselves, please let me know in the comments because I'd be really curious to try it. My Daniel is still rank 19. When I get him to rank 25, I will let you know if it is a good pickup. Okay, moving on to the cons. As I explained earlier, you might think that Martin is a counter to this deck, and he can be a pain by getting rid of singular landmines, but I find that although he is a pain, he's maybe not the biggest counter that this deck has. Tyrone is actually very difficult to deal with because Tyrone has a passive for his firefighter skill that makes him like almost immune to taking damage from traps, so you might find that he continues to just run around vaguely unperturbed by your traps. This is very, very difficult to deal with because you can't effectively damage him and down him. He also has his ultimate, the fever skill, which makes it so that everybody else won't be taking much damage from traps for a certain period of time. So if he's smart and he uses that right before he, like, their team walks into like your heavily trapped room, you can have your best laid plans almost quite literally blow up in front of your face, for lack of a better way of phrasing it. So that is very frustrating to play against, and that's why I think Tyrone is one of your best counters, so be wary of that. Another con is that you need to activate traps to blow them up in the survivors' faces to make them most effective, and that's why this build can be very good, because it doesn't rely on the survivors being kind of dumb and walking into the traps themselves. You can sometimes blow them up deliberately so that they can't really play against that, even if they're careful. However, if you lose cameras, you can't always activate the traps in the way that you'd want them to, which makes it easier for them to take out the traps safely with like a gun or something. So January can also be a pain for this build, but let's be real, guys, January's a pain for every Mastermind, okay? She's just always a pain. But yes, do be wary of the fact that you do kind of need to look at traps a lot. And you might want to try and bait the survivors into taking out a camera that has a turret attached to it so that you can look at the traps with another camera and really do damage. That would be my advice, to try and psychologically bait them into taking out the wrong cameras if you can. Another con is that setting up trap combos can sometimes be difficult if you are unlucky and you continue to draw the guns over and over. There will be times when you're trying to set up a trap combo and you're just getting rifles and stuff, and that's one of the unfortunate things about having to use the trap mod as well to lower the cost, is that you're more susceptible sometimes to kind of just getting a bad draw that isn't appropriate for the part of the match that you're on. So yes, that is one of the cons of this build. However, overall I think this is quite a strong build. I've had a lot of fun playing it. Again, coordinated survivor groups will probably be able to play around it fairly well, but I have had some luck against quite good survivors anyway, and you will find that even high level survivors sometimes bumble into traps. It's hard not to get clipped by their AoE effects. So I hope that you get the chance to give this build a shot yourselves, and I hope that you really enjoy using it, because I had a blast making this build myself. Ha ha ha! And now that you all hate me, I'm going to sign off here. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't hate my joke, then consider leaving a like and subscribing for more Resistance content and more builds coming up. And until next time, good luck in your games. Take care. This has been Sinow. Goodbye.